Dear Mother, Mrs. Pierce asked me to let you know that I am still here, though sometimes it feels as if I am not, and that I still carry the memory of your love, though the world has done its best to strip me bare. She also asked me to tell everyone that I am not taking visitors. Best to you, Mrs. Pierce, the nurse. And then I wrote to Mrs. Pierce, Dear Mrs. Pierce, the other day in the small courtyard outside, where I sometimes sit to listen to the birds, I suddenly found myself telling the sparrows my mother's story. I had no idea if they would care. When I got to the part about her holding my hand and calling me her angel, the sparrows lingered, perched quietly on the lone stone wall. I told them the rest of the story in brief, including how she taught me to laugh in the face of cruelty, and reached the end. She was my only light. I stayed in touch with Mrs. Pierce. She lives just a floor below in the nurses' quarters, not far from my little room. Somehow, my plan to write a book about Mother never worked out, and the pages lie scattered in a drawer. Eventually, I decided to gather the notes and show her the outline. It was a long evening. The firelight flickered as we sat there, talking about the cruelty of the world and the kindness that can still endure. Some of the other nurses, determined to preserve what they could, spoke of helping me collect my thoughts and memories into something permanent. I told Mrs. Pierce if it was all right with her. I would like to keep just one of Mother's scarves and the small locket she left behind. She arranged it. Thank you, sweet Mrs. Pierce. Tears burned my eyes, my steadfast friend. The scarf and locket arrived a few weeks later, with a faded photograph of Mother holding me as a child. They live. Scarf, locket, and photo. Slap bang in the middle of the wooden shelf near my bed, in pride of place alongside a small clay figurine I once made, and a pressed flower from the old garden where I used to play. Treasured. Forever catching the rays of the morning sun, and that still, quiet time of day that I love. Well, rest easy, Mother. And now I've arrived at the bit I was looking for. The light. Somewhere your feet have walked upon, gently along the edges of memory. Your love persisted, still. Your hands once moved like shadows over my face, and the quiet of your voice made the world disappear. The way you held me, like I was something rare, still presses into my skin, though you've been gone for years. I was brittle then, like a twig underfoot, but you softened me piece by piece, the way sunlight softens frost on a winter branch. I wonder if you knew how the world would harden once your arms were no longer there, how the streets would close their doors to me, how the faces would turn away, how I would search for you in every kind word and never find you again. There are no hands like yours, no voice that carries the weight of home. Even now, I sit with the locket you left me, its chain like a whisper around my fingers, its clasp opening and closing with the rhythm of your breath. I think sometimes of stepping out of this heavy body, distorted body, a broken body perhaps, of breaking open free like a window shattered by the sun, and in that light perhaps I will find you again, waiting as you always were, smiling the way only you could, like a promise kept, like the beauty of a truth never shown. As I have since learned so dolorously, that the happiest moments of our lives are when we are the least aware of the objective truth of the world we live in. I've come to learn this is true, even when I'm totally convinced it is bullshit. Thanks to you, I am an experience rather than a painting of experience. Because of you, I have become the poem rather than the poet. It's hard not to look at someone and imagine who they could be, to set your sights on their potential, to dream of their future, and to hold that vision in your heart. But every so often, you're reminded to look at who they are right now, and something shifts. You stop imagining and start seeing the person in front of you as they truly are. The more you let go of your dreams for someone, the more you find yourself drawn to their reality, confronting certain truths. It's possible that their flaws are not barriers, but bridges to understanding, to connection. That their scars are not wounds to be erased, but maps of a life lived deeply, rich with stories that make them whole. That their so-called imperfections are not failings, but reminders that they are human, just like you. We dream of perfected versions of the people we love, holding them up to an ideal that doesn't exist. But those ideals are distant, unreachable, like stars glimpsed only in the imagination. Humanistic love invites us to let those stars fade, so we can see the beauty of the person standing in the light of day. This kind of love doesn't ask for change or improvement. It doesn't withhold affection until someone becomes better. It chooses to embrace the ambiguity, the complexity, the contradictions of another person. It chooses to love someone's present self with all its messiness more than their potential self. Because the truth is, love isn't about finding perfection, it's about finding peace in imperfection, about realizing that who they are, right here and now, is enough. When you love someone deeply, it's best not to dream of who they might become. Instead, let yourself see them for who they are, not as a work in progress, but as a masterpiece already complete. That is the essence of humanistic love, and perhaps, from my empirical experience, the most transformative kind of love there is.